My project for today is a painting that I want to do of a scene I took in the local nature reserve, and it's a beautiful scene. I show you there. It's these lovely greens and this lovely water. Got some clouds. Can you see the clouds and the darker blue reflecting the sky? And I've got some sort of reddish umbery colours in the over here and here, and I want to try and get these fine details of the reflections of these trees, which are hanging over the water and sometimes falling into the water. And in the foreground we've got some reeds coming up here, but I want to try and get that flatness of the water. And you'll notice here, if I bring it closer, would it focus on that? There. You can see the different shades of green in the reflected trees there. A little bit darker than the reflection, always darker than the actual object. And again, you see you've got the dark there, but it's much darker in the water there. Dark there, but a little darker there in reflection. So I'm going to map it out. I'm going to draw it out roughly with a little bit of paint, and also I will, rather than the pencil this time, I think I'll just sketch it out with a paint, and also block in some tones to give me the tree line there. A little bit of light green with some turpentine, just to give me the basis so I don't get lots of little white holes poking through. Although I do want some holes, those are the ones that I want to leave deliberately. We call these the sky holes, so I've got to do that. So I will come back and film a little bit more when I'm started out on that, so we don't get the video too long. As you see, I've added the masses. I've blocked in the broad shapes. This is what I'm more interested in at the moment, is the shapes, and we'll deal with the individual elements later, but I've just got to try and get these broad shapes in, and then we go from the general to the particular later. I've tried to get a bit of a shoreline in there with a bit of ultramarine and burnt umber to try and give me some darkness in the shore over the other side of this lake. Actually, they're all gravel pits left over, all the remains of gravel workings from the Second World War. They were, all the gravel came out to do the local airfields around here. So I've been told that if they were to drain them, they would see all sorts of things. I've talked to some men who were young boys here not long after the war, and well, they grew up I suppose in the 50s, and they told me that all sorts of things got sort of left there. I don't know, tanks, old wrecked vehicles, who knows. Right, now let me see. I wonder if I should block in this big slab of water I've got here, and then we can put the blues in later. But well, I've got, oh, that's too dark. You don't want to have it too dark in the distance, because being a little cooler, you can push the scene back a little bit. So that's what I've got to do. And also remember to keep my brush clean. Every time I dip down into a change of paint, a change of colour, you can contaminate your picture quite a lot. So I've got to remember to do that. Let's put some little greens in here over this white, which I've got there. A bit of sap green I'm doing now. Mix it on the palette, on the board. You can do it on the palette, it's either way. A little bit of lemon yellow is called for, I think. Some overhanging stuff here. Let's get some more yellows in this. This is lemon yellow I've got here. There's a little overhanging branches here. So I think I need to push my trees back a bit there. So I'm going to have a lighter green. So I've got a little bit of raw sienna, this is all yellowy, a little bit of lemon yellow, a little bit of titanium white, and we can suggest pushing it back a little bit further there. So I've got to squint my eyes from time to time so I can get the values right. Generally the colours and the tonal values tend to be much darker when they're close to you. So we've got to try and do that. There's still a little bit of flecks of light in it. It's all about trying to get a balance. As I say, my photograph is only a reference. I'm not going to reproduce it exactly. You need a realist painter to do that, but of course you can always take a photograph as well. And I'm just trying to capture the atmosphere. When I walked around this reserve a week or so ago, it's pretty amazing actually. Need to get some water in. How are we looking? I'm looking through my camera lens now and it's looking rather yellowy, which is not quite how I want it. So I think I'm going to step up the green values. Right. How about that? Is that coming along? And we'll be putting some fine branches in a little bit later. And we'll put some sky holes in as well. I want to get this shape of this reflection, reflecting this big mass here with this, and I'll got an interesting shape. So I'll add a little bit of ultramarine here to my green to make it a little darker. I say it's a shape I want at the moment, but we can cut into that with our water when I go for that, when I sort that out. So how about that? Got more greens here. Dab in lightly. Right. Let's have a little bit of phthalo green with a pinch of lemon yellow. Let's put a bit of cadmium yellow as well. That's quite vivid, actually. It was fairly vivid. I think I need a bit of liquid to help the paint come off my brush a bit better. So that's cadmium yellow with a little bit of my Viridian. Just need it a bit darker in places anyway. It's a little bit too strong. Let's white that out a bit. Get a bit of titanium. And hopefully push it back. I'll try and get some individual tree shapes as well as we go. And there's nice greens here. Again, quite a dark mass under here, which gives us the reflection of this elements, but I'll put the boughs in later. Right, so I've got that shape there, which I want to reflect these. I could put a few dark elements in there. We need to do that. In fact, there were just to the right here some lovely old boughs here. They've just left the old trees to fall into the river, or into the pond, I should say, to the gravel pit. And that marvellous thing for nature, I think. All the bugs and birds, they must love it. So, see if I can put in a few darker elements of my... I can do this with a smaller brush actually later, but I'm just trying to suggest them at the moment. See if we can... Yes, I better not put them in there because I'm going to cut into that with my water colours. I want to reflect the sky. This tray has got lots of little elements to it, and I think we need to be a bit darker here. It's in our foreground here, and then also bits of light green sticking up here. I think I'll just map that in a little bit and come back with some lighter greens and some reeds here, which I can put with flecks of white or scratch them in give us some, got more reflections here. Just cutting into our scene here. I'm using a fairly dry brush there. But anyway, let's, I need to lighten those lines up later. But I'll stop recording now and I'll see if I can put some of the water in. I'm trying now to put in some of the cloud reflections. I've got to try and convey the smoothness of the water as well. So I need to horizontal strokes, lightly applied. Blend the edges as well so they look smooth and they read a little better. And I will be putting in the reflections and the branches a little bit later, so we needn't worry for that for the moment. And in here there's going to be a big reflection of the of these trees here. I'll delineate them a little bit better as I go, but I need to make sure that I've got this nice and smooth without muddying my paints up as well. It's a delicate thing to do. We've got lights, different blues here. I've got some cerulean to add little highlights, little bits of the blue is reflected. In this body of water here. So again, I've got to do it very gently as we do it. But it's a sort of push and pull process, really. You add some and then you've got to go back and readjust it. So nothing wrong with that. That's the process. And it gradually takes set shape, of course, but they often go through this, our painters would call it the ugly phase. It's a bit severe, but I think it's probably true. You think, oh, am I going to do this or not? Am I going to make it work? So I've got to try. I know they're linear, my strokes, but the cloud that they're reflecting, of course, are columnus, is it? Do they call it? Like thunder clouds. And so I've got to try and do that as well. So there's a balance. And well, I've got some paint of this colour. We can map this in just roughly at the moment. We'll cut into this tree line a little bit more specifically as we go to make the trees read better, but as I said, we're going to go for the general mapping of values. Got to get having the colour is one thing, but having the correct value is what can make it work. heard an artist say recently, colour gets all the glory in a painting, but the tones do all the hard work. And I think it's true. If you can master that, you're on your way. Keep that shoreline nice, and again I'll cut into that with the different values. Going to have a little bit of burnt umber now, to a little bit of ultramarine, to try and get my darks, my darkest darks I need to make it read a bit better. Talking of reeds, I've got to read specifically in some of these places, so I've got to do that. But this needs to be a bit darker too, I think. Let's make sure we've got some nice greens there. There were some nice sort of spring greens, I must admit, in this nature reserve. So how are we coming along? I think I need my reflections to read a little bit greener. Come down a little bit further here. Yes, they will be darker in tone than this, but I need to have them looking green. Yes, I think that's coming a bit better. And I noticed this bit of green here is much yellower. So wipe off my brush again because I'm getting it a bit muddy. So let's lay in a little bit of nice yellow and a bit of Naples yellow to make it read a lot greener, a lot brighter, springy green. A little bit more lemon yellow there. As we cut more into our reflection. I've got to read up here as well, of course, the reflect what we see here. I think I can safely lighten up certain bits of it, and we've got more spring greens in some of these. Yes, I think we can want to go a little bit lighter with some of these. My titanium white, with just a smidge of greens. And they also need to read green. So I'm going to put a bit of viridian green down there, sort of bluey green. So I'm going to put some boughs in there a little bit later. This margin is not reading so well. I think it needs a bit darker. And got a nice reed bed here, which I've got to try and get in as well. That's a nice sort of pinky red almost. So I'll clean off my brush, see if I can do that. I'm getting myself covered. Clean my brush in a little odorless mineral spirit. Right, now I've got a little bit of white titanium and a bit of burnt sienna, and that will give us a nice, I think, pinky colour here, which they were. Again, we'll go with a smaller brush a little bit later, just trying to get some general colour there. And also out here there were some reeds, pinkish colour. And along the shoreline as well. I don't know if I could say shoreline, it's hardly a sea, is it? But where the bank meets the water. A little bit lighter there. Right, and also some of these darks actually go right into the body of the trees there. So I say I need to get those right. I should perhaps be doing it with a smaller brush. So I also need a bit of lightish spring green there. But I haven't finished doing that sky, have I? Let's get that in. Clean the brush again. Don't want a green sky, do we? Right, here we go. Palette. We'll put that in. Got some liquid there, which helps it flow a little better off your brush. I think I'm going to put a bit of cerulean blue in there. Right. Let's keep it. Let's put some of these sky holes in too. Can do that. I think I need a smaller brush. This will do for the moment, I think. So I'm going to put some different little branches in there. Little twigs, and try and get some more form in it. But I think that's something you do when you've got the general layout right. And we're still a little way to go for that. Show them off a bit better. Right. Little breaks in the reflection as well. And over here too. in this area. It's definitely dark down this area, and here too. It's that reading in this patch here. I'll come back with some reflections, more realistic reflections from here to match down here. We'll do that. I think I need to make this read a bit better there. Bit of yellow to reflect this. There's my palette knife will probably help me here a little bit. Got some Naples yellow here. It gives a bit more lighter tone. Mix it with my bit of yellow. Right. To add a bit of texture to our foreground areas, all those that come into our view. Right. And here I've got these trees that are in the far bank, so I've got to do that. We've got to do some reeds in here as well. Also, I think I need to smooth this out a little bit. Some horizontal strokes to try and give us some glossy effect. So let's start off with put a bit of liquid in here. Which helps the paint flow off of your brush. Now I've got a bit of ivory black here. I don't often use black itself, but I'm going to use a little bit of burnt umber mixed with it though, so it's not exactly straight out of the tube. So we make a nice little mixture, nicely mixed on my glass palette, and I think we're going to, yes, we need to put some lines in here to show us. No, this is not coming off this brush. I'll use this thicker one to put on that tree to the right of the frame there. I think we would, there are some thicker ones that come in. It's not coming off the brush. This is the tricky bit. You have to roll it. Be very lightly how you do it, because you don't want to disturb the paint that you have, the lower, different in the paint you put on initially. If you're not careful, you'll disturb it. darker there. In fact, there is quite a bit darker in here. I think we'll step that up a little bit. Not enough darks in. Also, I better remember to wipe it. Otherwise you just drag up the colours below. I'm rolling my brush as well, just lightly touching it. Darks in here. My brush. Get a bit of small burnt sienna. Gives a nice little there was a nice coloured reeds here. So I've got some raw sienna there. Right. Still need to improve these little fine branches that I see here. Ah, that's better. We need to just tickle them in. bit of dark here. Some of the trees still, some of their line, their boughs. A bit of yellow in here, I think. Something I can do. That's better. Also, put some burnt sienna in there as well. Put a bit of reflection in it as well. We need to do that to make sure it reads. Some of this raw sienna. No, that wasn't raw sienna, that was burnt sienna. Let's get some greens in now. Right. So a bit more dark in the ground over there. Right. Perhaps I should make a different green. So I've got some Viridian here, and yes, that will do it. On my rigger, little small brush here, I'm going to try and stipple in a few light greens. So I've got some lemon yellow, so I'm just going to gently tap it in. And also you need can do a bit here too. Let's get a bit of cadmium yellow as well. We need a bit of liquid on this. Try and break it up a little bit. Some yellow ochre as well. Scratch in a few to show some of the lighter sticks. So we could put a bit of black in there. Limbs or some trees that are going there. This is all up to you. You know, your picture is, the photograph is one thing, but you can use your artistic license. It may not, it's a bad thing to chase the picture sometimes. It might be a nice picture, but photograph, but is it going to be a good picture? Is it a good painting, I should say? And not the same, you know, it might work as a photo, but you try interpreting it, it's not working, so you have to use some judgment to say, yes, I'm moving away from that picture now. I'm doing my take on it. Looks smooth enough to represent. Yes, that's what I need to do. We need to put some horizontal lines in here to represent the water. But you've got to know when to call a halt. You must be careful not to overwork it as well, which is certainly possible. More of an issue in watercolour, of course. Watercolour is much trickier, medium in some ways more difficult, because you've only got so many chances to correct, sometimes none actually. So, with a watercolour, with an oil painting, of course, you can have several cracks at it. If push comes to shove and you're really disappointed in it, you just scrape it off. Let's start again. Right, let's see if I got enough darks representing my reflection areas. Right. Well, I think I might just leave this for a day or so. And then come back. You see it with fresh eyes. Then what I could do with a clean brush. Oops, we need to put in a few sky holes where the blue of the sky is appearing through gaps in the trees. Sky hole here and there. What about here? Let's put one in. More blue, I think. Oh, you got to remember the skies are lighter the lower they get in the sky. And to get the horizontal nature of water, of course. Just a little sparkle. Yes, that's a bit better. Distorted by the wind and the ripples, should we have any. So we need to scratch along here a little. What about that? Let me see. Improves it, I think. Yes. That might help, I think. And also in between our reflected bows, you can put a little reflection of the water. And I think if I get a large flat brush, so I've got one here, you can see this one here, I'll just stroke this across here. To soften our edges up a little bit. Right, how does that look? I look through, yes. I think we could live with that. I think we'll bring back the sky down a bit now into some of these elements. Make it look a little lighter. Oops. Picked up some yellow ochre there inadvertently. Right, and that is a dark green under there. Get that in. On my Viridian still. Get some darks in the heart of a plant. It's always much darker because the light isn't getting there. And have some of that in here. These are lovely reeds. Yes. I think I should leave that this session anyway. We'll come back and consider it tomorrow. I think we could do worse than that. Right, definitely a stop. Okay, I'm back for a little fine adjustments, and I don't wonder if you can spot them there. Let me think, have I got that in focus? Let's just go with that. Right, there we are. I've put a little bit of pink in the sky, a little purpley pink in the sky, and you see the reflection here. Done some more work on the reeds down the bottom here, and put some little sparkle in the water. It was quite a nice day, and you see the blue here reflecting on this bit of sky above us here somewhat. I haven't got a lot of blue there, but that's certainly how it was. And a few limbs where they're catching the light now, coming into the water there. And I've reinforced this line here where the vegetation reaches the banks, and so reinforced a little bit of texture reinforced there, and on this foreground. Colours are generally more intense and more vibrant when they're closer to you, but of course I've got to have my darkest darks are here. You need the darks to emphasize your lights, so I had to put a bit more work here, a little bit dark there. So anyway, there you have it, a view from the local allotments, from the local nature reserve near to where I live, and there are so many lovely scenes to take there, with lots of dramatic pictures where the big logs and trees have fallen over, and they've just left them there, of course, to provide habitat for the wildlife. And all in all, I think it's lovely. So if you would like to see more of my videos, don't forget to touch the like button, also the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, but that means you'll be notified when I put up another video.